Guys. There's a player we do not talk about. We rarely talk about. And he is definitely cooking. All right. He is cooking up a storm. Who is that player, you ask? Well, it's Dominick Barlow. And he is the definition of project. You know, we already talked about Blake Wesley earlier, but Dom Barlow is the definition of project. And the reason why I say that is because I don't know if you guys recall where this kid came from, okay? I don't know if you recall. He was the very first player that was drafted in the NBA. Well, he actually wasn't drafted. That was signed to an NBA team from the Overtime Elite. That's where he's from. Overtime Elite. If you don't know what that is, they basically it's for athletes to, if they don't want to necessarily like go to college or they don't want to go through the G League, there's an NBA separate league, and it's usually young players like from the age of like 17. You guys correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's like 17 to 20 or something like that. Really young guys. And they get paid a salary. So it's a really nice way for you to not only showcase what you can do on the court, but also you get paid in doing so. And there were no players that came out of that league. It was super early, super new. But no players came out of that league that got signed other than Dom Barlow and now a few others. Yeah, the Thompson twins. Yeah. But at the time, he was the first. So he was definitely someone that you were rolling the dice on. But it was so funny because I recall so many people messaging me and talking about Dom Barlow and saying, Clan, should we draft Dom Barlow? And there just wasn't enough footage out there for me to even make an like true assessment of his game. It just wasn't enough. It was like, okay, yeah, he has a lot of potential from these clips, but this isn't enough. These are just highlights, like short highlights. But man, oh man, the San Antonio Spurs, they got themselves a gem. If you guys have not been keeping up, look at this kid's numbers this year. It's kind of crazy. So last season, in 34 games played, 27 minutes, he averaged 13 points, 55% field goal percentage, 29, basically 30% three-point percentage, 68 free throw percentage. Just not all that, all right? Not all that in a bag of chips. But block, he was averaging a block per game, 1.3. Look at this year. What the heck? Guys, please go watch some Dom Barlow. I mean, not only that, he's been having some posters too. 25 points? And I know it's the G League, okay? I know people are going to say, oh, it's the G League, Yeah, obviously, you adjust that for the NBA, and his stats won't be this impressive. Not yet. But he is starting to outplay the G League. See, last season, it was like, yeah, he needs to be in the G League, right? It's like, well, obviously, like you're a G League player, you need to be in the G League. This year, we're finally seeing him outplay the G League. It's like we're starting to see players that are too good for the G League, and that's beautiful. So you can see here, 25 points, 57. So he's averaging nearly 12 more points with a higher field goal percentage. And I mean, I won't get too excited about the 3-point percentage because, it just went up 1. But even with the 3-point percentage, he's shooting 2 more threes than he did last season. And his 3-point percentage increased. Free throw percentage increased. So his shooting has increased. Rebounding has increased to 7.8 from 6.5. Assists, about the same, 1.5 to 2. Turnovers went up just a little bit, but the ball's in his hands a little bit more. Blocks is still the same, so his defense is still there. But this is very impressive. And one thing that I always, and I'm going to say I told you so like 50 million times, okay, to the heavens. But there were so many people that were so quick to say, oh, we don't have the shot doctor anymore. Whatever are we going to do? He's not with the Spurs. We're screwed. Like, oh my God, this is going to be such trash. And now you can kind of see that that's not necessarily the case. Not something you have to really worry about that much. Because the Spurs, they have managed to still improve player shooting. Like, even without the shot doctor, he wasn't the only one with the knowledge. Obviously, he had guys under him. The San Antonio Spurs took from what he does. It's the same thing with coaches that are under Pop that leave and they bring his teachings with them. Same exact thing. And that's what we're seeing with Dom Barlow. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful sight to see. But man, oh man, I'm just blown away by how well he's been playing. And we already saw in the Summer League where, you know, he definitely improved even his mid-range shooting, where he was ready to just let that thing rip. Every single time he had something that was semi-open at the mid-range, he let it go. His shooting confidence has improved tremendously. And I'm not one of those guys that are really quick, because I truly do believe in the developmental process. I'm not one of those guys that say he needs to come in right now and take minutes from this player and this is what's going to be the recipe to win. I'll be cool if he's in the G League for the rest of the season, or plays in G League for the rest of the season, and continues to develop, because we might genuinely be getting a monster. I don't know if he'll be a starter necessarily, but even when I kind of think about it, it's like, all right, we need a defensive wing, right? So I think in the future, if the Spurs want to go in this direction, Keldon possibly comes off the bench, which wouldn't be bad at all. I think that he will be fine leading the bench unit. And you have a defensive small forward there, right? Someone who can play the perimeter, great defender there. You get you a point guard that can really deliver, really let that thing rip. And then you can even put Dom Barlow at the power forward position, and he can hold his own defensively, and he'll also stretch out the floor so well for Victor Wembanyama if Vic was at center. This is like future if you want to do it, and you can even have Sohan come off the bench if you want, and he can run with Keldon. Like, you could do it that way, or you could have Sohan start, which, you know, defensively he's a better defender than Dom Barlow, obviously, and you can have Dom Barlow come off the bench behind Sohan and open up the floor. It's just so many options because he's so good, and he's one of those guys also that you don't really know where he can fit yet because he's so good at so many different things. And man, if he just continues to improve in the way in which he's improving, he's gonna be a bad man. Bad man. But yeah, I just wanted to bring this up because I think this is something that's not necessarily being talked about. And if you go back and you watch some of even the highlights from this season thus far in the G League, man, some of the plays he's making and his athleticism. I mean, he's really coming into his own body too. Like, his athleticism is insane. He gets up there, he will fly. He will absolutely fly. So, yeah, dude, this is not something to scoff at. This is not something to just turn your nose up at. This is something that's genuinely pretty impressive that I'm all for. So, big shout out to Dom Barlow. He's a nasty kid.